towards the removal of the 4 commissioners of IBC, and make a finding that the 4 commissioners committed serious violations of the Constitution, the IBC Act, the Leadership and Integrity Act, the Public Officers Ethics Act, and their conduct in performance of their duties as commissioners in the 2022 presidential elections demonstrates and amounts to serious violations of the Constitution, gross misconduct, and incompetence, as I have read on the grounds of removal on Article 251. I am now going to read essentially what it is that the charge sheet, which has particulars, and the law that was contravened. Grounds for removal of the commissioners.
5 minutes.
I pray that, Honorable Chair, you kindly give me 10 minutes, because even the letter that you sent to me, Honorable Chair, said 1 hour. I indeed have
Thank
practiced.
you. I will not curtail you in any way. You have one full hour, so you have another 15 minutes.
Thank you.
20 minutes now, because you still have your 5 minutes. 20 minutes, and as you move along,
yes,
you read some certain provisions.
Correct.
And you would underline certain words.
Yes.
Can you try to tie that, the underlining and what you're reading?
Okay. I need to read the grounds for removal, Honorable Chair. I believe that you have considered my petition, my request for 10 minutes. Thank you, sir. Number 1 is serious violations of the Constitution and the law. The commissioners demonstrated partiality and biased conduct by agreeing to the proposal to alter the results of the presidential elections in favor of one candidate, or in the alternative to force a runoff contrary, as you have requested me to tie. Articles 10, Articles 72B and C, 73, 2B and C, Article 75, Article 138, Article 232, Article 239 of the Constitution of Kenya, 2010, Sections 9, Section 26, Section 30 of the IBC Act, Section 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 16, 24 of the Leadership and Integrity Act, Sections 8, 9, 10, 12, 16, and 17 of the Public Officers Act. By agreeing to the incentives and giving in to proposal by the NSAC to alter the results of the presidential elections, the commissioners committed serious violations of the Constitution, contrary to Article 10, Article 73, 2B, C, Article 75, 138, 232, 249 of the Constitution of Kenya, Section 926, Section 30 of the IBC Act, Section 7, 8, 9, 10, 16, 24 of the Leadership and Integrity Act, Sections 8, 9, 10, 12, 16, 17 of the Public Officers Act. C, by disowning the results of the 2022 presidential elections, which the commissioners had participated in the verification and tally, the commissioners committed serious violations of the Constitution, contrary to Article 10, 73, 2B, C, 75, 232, 249 of the Constitution of Kenya, Sections 9, 26, 30 of the IBC Act, Section 7, 8, 9, 11, 16, 24 of the Leadership and Integrity Act, Sections 8, 9, 10, 12, 16, 17 of the Public Ethics Act. By accepting the proposal to alter the results of the elections to subvert the will of the people of Kenya, the commissioners committed serious violations of the Constitution, contrary to, again, Article 10, Article 73, 2B and C, 75, 232, 249 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, Sections 9, 26, 30 of the IBC Act, Sections 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 16, 24 of the Leadership and Integrity Act, Sections 9, 8, 9, 10, 12, 16, 17 of the Public Officers Act. By issuing press statements, as I have indicated earlier, that there was synchrony between Serena and KICC statements, by issuing press statements with close semblance with the press statements by Azimio la Umoja One presidential candidate, the commissioners committed serious violations of the Constitution, contrary to Article 10, Article 73, 2B and C, 75, 239, 249, Sections 9, 26, 30 of the IBC Act, Sections 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 16, 24 of the Leadership and Integrity Act, Sections 8, 9, 10, 12, 17 of the Public Officer Ethics Act. By failing to follow the well set out guidelines for the verification, tallying, and announcement of the presidential elections, the commissioners committed serious violations of the Constitution, contrary to Articles 10, 73 2BC, 75, 232, 249 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, Sections 9 and 26 and 30 of the Iebc Act, Section 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, Section 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 16, 24 of the Leadership and Integrity Act, Sections 8, 9, 10, 12, 16, and 17 of the Public Officers Act. The second charge is on gross misconduct. A, by concurring to support the unlawful attempt to alter the results of the presidential elections in favor of one candidate, or in the alternative to force a runoff, the commissioners committed gross misconduct contrary to Articles 10, 73, 2BC, 75, 232, 249 of the COK 2010, Sections 9, 26, 30 of the Iebc Act, Sections 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 16, 24 of the Leadership and Integrity Act, Section 8, 9, 10, 12, 16, and 17 of the Public Officers Act. B, of the gross misconduct, by acting in liaison with one faction of the presidential elections, the commissioners committed gross violations of the Constitution and the law contrary to Article 10, 73 2BC, 75, 232, 249 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, Sections 9, 26, 30 of the Iebc Act, Section 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 16, 24 of the Leadership and Integrity Act, Section 8, 9, 10, 12, 16, and 17 of the Public Officers Act, Public Officer Ethics Act, by refusing to follow the well set out guidelines for the verification and tallying announcement of the presidential election, the commissioners committed gross misconduct contrary to Articles 10, 73, 2BC, 75, 232, 249 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, Section 9, 26, 30 of the Iebc Act, Section 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 16, 24 of the Leadership and Integrity Act, Section 8, 9, 10, 12, 16, 17 of the Public Officers Ethics Act, by swearing affidavits in support of petitions challenging the presidential elections. The commissioners committed gross misconduct contrary to Articles 10, 73, 2BC, 75, 232, 249 of the Constitution of Kenya, Sections 9, 26, 30 of the Iebc Act, Section 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 16, 24 of the Leadership and Integrity Act, Section 8, 9, 10, 12, 16, 17 of the Public and Officers Act. Third charge, incompetence. By agreeing to the proposal to alter the results of the presidential elections in favor of one candidate or in alternative to force a runoff, the commissioners demonstrated incompetence contrary to Articles 10, 73, 2BC, 75, 138, 10A, 232, 249 of the Constitution of Kenya, Sections 9, Section 26 and 30 of the Iebc Act, Section 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 16, 24 of the Leadership and Integrity Act, and Sections 8, 9, 10, 12, 16, and 17 of the Public Officer and Ethics Act. B, by failing to follow the set out guidelines of the verification and tallying announcement of the presidential elections, the commissioners demonstrated incompetence contrary to Article 10, 72, 73, 2BC, 75, 138, 10A, 232, 249 of the Constitution of Kenya 2010, Section 9, 26 and 30 of the Iebc Act, Section 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 16, 24 of the Leadership and Integrity Act, and Sections 8, 9, 10, 12 and 17 of the Public Officers Act, by swearing affidavits in support of the petitions challenging the presidential elections, the commissioners demonstrated incompetence contrary to Article 10, 73B, 73, 2BC, 75, 232, 249 of the Constitution of Kenya, Section 9, 26 and 30 of the Iebc Act, Section 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 16, 24 of the Leadership and Integrity Act, Section 8, 9, 10, 12, 16 and 17 of the Public Officers Ethics Act. By disowning the results of the 2022 presidential elections, the commissioners demonstrated gross incompetence contrary to Articles 10, 73, 2BC, 75, 232, 249 of the COK 2010, Sections 9, 26 and 30 of the Iebc Act, Section 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 16, 24 of the Leadership and Integrity Act, and Sections 8, 9, 10, 12, 16, 17 of the Public Officers Act, by contravening and attending meeting purportedly to discuss and appoint counsels to represent the Commission in the presidential elections, you know as per law that only the CEO and the Secretariat has that role. The commissioners demonstrated gross incompetence, contrary to Articles 10, 73, 2BC, 75, 232, 249 of the Constitution of Kenya, Sections 9, 26, 30 of the Iebc Act, Section 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 16, 24 of the Leadership and Integrity Act, Section 8, 9, 10, 12, 16, 17 of the Public Officers Ethics Act, by attempting to appoint counsels to represent the Commission in the presidential elections. The commissioners demonstrated incompetence. Articles 10, 73, 2 BC, 75, 232, 249 of the Constitution of Kenya, Sections 9, 26, and 30 of the Iebc Act, Sections 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 16, 24 of the Leadership and Integrity Act, Sections 8, 9, 10, 12, 16, and 17 of the Public Officers Ethics Act. My prayers, these are my prayers, Honorable Chairman. Based on the foregoing, I pray that the petition be admitted and considered by the National Assembly. The National Assembly be satisfied, that the National Assembly be satisfied that the petition discloses, you're the investigating body, discloses sufficient grounds for removal of commissioners Juliana Cherera, the Vice Chair of the Commission, Irene Masit, Francis Wanderi, Justus Ngayaya of the Iebc under Article 251(1) of the Constitution of Kenya. And the National Assembly, upon making a finding, be pleased to send the petition to the President for further action. Honorable Chair, that is my prayer. Thank you so much. I hope that I'm within your timeline. Even though it was a
another 50 minutes. That's what you've done. Thank you very much. 10 minutes to us. I think you need to sip some water because these members have some clarifications to be made, and therefore have a sip of water. Then I will give them a chance.
Thank you so much.
To seek clarification from you as regards your petition, but you have done quite well in it. Thank you very much. We can go on? Yes. The Vice Chair is going to have the first bite of the cherry. So, Vice Chair, please proceed.
Thank you, Chairman. Reverend Thumbi.
Yes.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair.
You began by enumerating that your family is a freedom-fighting family.
Correct.
Other than that, question number one, what else motivates you to present this petition?
Thank you very much.
That's my question number one.
Chair, point of order, just a point of order or point of direction from your office, from your position, that we possibly do a round of questions as he takes notes and takes water, and then he'll now respond wholesomely.
Thank you. That is going to be the procedure. As you sip your water, they'll be asking questions. They will be seeking clarification. Really, they aren't cross-examining. They are not digging deeper into this than it is, but you need to clarify a few areas. So you may note as they continue.
So that is my question number one. Question number two, a greater part of your petition relies on the affidavit of Mr. Wafula Chebukati. The affidavit is so in support of the petition, in support of the response to the petitions the presidential petitions that had been filed at the Supreme Court. Now, you are relying on that affidavit. The facts therein stated are known to Mr. Wafula Chebukati. Do you yourself, as a person, do you have first-hand information about the facts in those affidavits? Because in my understanding, it would be difficult to rely on another person's information. And why would you want this committee to rely on that evidence? Why would you want this committee to rely on the evidence of Mr. Wafula Chebukati when Mr. Wafula Chebukati is not the one speaking to us? This is Thumbi. Thumbe is speaking to us, he's not telling us, I saw this. He's telling us, Mr. Chebukati said this. Why would you want us to rely on that? Thank you.
Thank you very much. From there, Osoro.
Honorable Chair, with your indulgence, I have also a round of questions based on what Reverend Thumbi has presented. I will go on topical format. For 3 minutes, I'll be done. I'll start with the incompetence as one of the grounds for this petition. Under the incompetence, Thumbi claims that the 4 Iebc commissioners agreed to alter the results of the presidential election in favor of one candidate, or in the alternative to force a runoff. They agreed. So my question to him, was he there? How sure is he that they agreed? Number 2, he says they also failed to set the guidelines for the verification and tallying announcement of the presidential elections. But in his own petition, he claims, again, on gross misconduct, Chair, he claims that the 4 commissioners acted in liaison with one faction in a presidential election. What is the evidence? Is there evidence that showed? Are there pictures of meetings that I had? How did they act in one liaison? How did they act in favor of one faction? Because, again, he relies on the statements of, like Vice Chair said, on the affidavit done by Wafula Chebukati. I mean, really, would we generally assume that whatever Chebukati says is gospel truth and we should disown whatever they had written, or rather their counter affidavits to that effect? And finally, Chair, there's a thin line between freedom of expression and what is defined as possible gross misconduct of a public or state officer as enshrined by under Article 73, 1 and 2, thereabout. But I want to draw Thumbi's attention on Article 33 on the freedom of expression. Where do we separate, or rather, how do we get to the point of where a state officer is limited of his right of expression and now acts as a state officer? Because at this point, if we rely on the press conference that the commissioners gave in Serena, or did in Serena Hotel, could we define that as freedom of expression, or were they working within? Because one would argue that they were not within the gazetted area of Bomas of Kenya, which was the gazetted, Iebc tallying center. So they were outside Bomas of Kenya, which is not a gazetted tallying center, in a hotel, possibly having tea as Kenyans, and they expressed themselves. Where do we draw the line between freedom of expression and gross misconduct or such?
Very good. Thank you very much. Let's just have those ones answered, then we take another round, because that's quite a mouthful. They're quite a good number, and I hope, Reverend, you've noted all of them one by one, and in a very, very quick manner, you are able to answer. You may start.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I'll start with question number 1 from the Vice Chair. My motivation to this petition, other than the fact that my grandfather was a freedom fighter, the Constitution and the law is for the living. And the living must be allowed then to set the dictates of their civilization. And I owe it to myself and to the public and to this nation to be a guardian of what is moral and ethical. And therefore, wherever I see something that will amplify a wrong trajectory towards this nation, something that will wound our serenity, our security, our fragility, then it is up to me as a shareholder of the constituent power to respond through various instruments and institutions so that that thing can be corrected. So therefore, it is beholden upon myself as a Kenyan to be the first one that policies ethics and morality. I don't just practice voting and I go home. I practice constitutionalism all year round. And because I have to demonstrate to my sons and my daughter that you have to define the standard of civilization within your space. And lastly, of course, I am motivated by the great monarch of heaven. As a servant of God, it is enshrined in my spirit that I have to respond to every darkness. Because as light, it means that any darkness in this country is there because I have not responded to it. Thank you, Honorable Chair. I pray that that is satisfactory enough to answer that. Reliance on any other thing other than the fact that, other than the affidavit of the chair, and that's Honorable Chebukati. This affidavit of the chair was adduced under oath. And not just that, it is part of a successful litigation. When you look at the jurisprudence that the judgment brought forth, what would you rely on? You need to rely on all the submissions that were correct at the end of the day. This assembly is beholden to itself to look at the judicature that was brought about, the civilization that the Supreme Court, the highest court in the land, says that this is what happened and we take this essentially as the truth. And in any way, in the tribunal, if you ratify that to the president, the chairman himself in person, I believe, then will be able to tell us. And whoever who is implicated, the tribunal will be able to call them forth so that they can either defend or thereabout. And at the tribunal, I believe that there's going to be adequate evidence that will be provided on the same to support the majority of these things. On the aspect of, so essentially what I'm saying is that the affidavit by the chairman gives us a chronological aspect of what led to the events on 15th. And it's very important for me to say this, Chairman, that I was present at the bombers of Kenya. I witnessed the chaos. I witnessed the entry of NSAC. I was there all the days. I witnessed their entry at the end of the day. So this is not hearsay. I was part and parcel of when that scuffle happened, when somebody essentially tried to eliminate the chairman, when the CEO himself received various wounds. It was an assault and an attempt.
Kindly, not to interject, but I think it's important for the petitioner to set a bit of some clarity. In his introduction, he did not state what role possibly played within these party frameworks, or whether he was a party member or any coalition. Because when he says he was at Bomas, I am now confused. Like, was he a police officer? Or did he go there to pray? What did he go to do?
Thank you, Honorable Osoro. What he's asking is exactly what were you doing at Bomas? He's being polite, but exactly what were you doing there?
It's an important question.
Thank you.
What happens is that I was invited by the media all through the campaigns. I was a political analyst, and therefore, within the framework of Bomas, I was essentially invited by the media to come and, of course, give my views thereabout. And so I found it necessary to witness what was unfolding. You know that if you're in a place, Chairman, you're in this room, so you're party to everything that is happening in this room. And I found myself in Bomas every night. I think other than one night. And therefore, as an analyst invited by the media, I was party to majority of these dealings as a person who was present there. I was not there on behalf of UDA, and I mentioned I've never been a party official, other than the fact that I was a party official at Agano. I am not a party official of UDA. I don't administrate. I wasn't there on their behalf. It wasn't them that had invited me. It was essentially the media. And so, even I was there essentially as a guest of the media, not as a police officer or anything of the sort. Thank you. If I was a police officer, perhaps I would have
Thank
done a
you.
better job.
So you're making a distinction between what you personally know, and
Exactly.
you're telling us that,
Yes.
plus vis-a-vis what you have information on from the affidavit that was produced in the Supreme Court.
Correct.
Okay, thank
Correct.
you. Just carry on and answer the questions. We'll finish, then we take another round.
I think I've answered on the incompetence as agreed. I think essentially every Kenyan, other than those of us who are present in these places and heavily engaged as a political analyst, we witnessed all these dealings and pleadings. We saw the statements. There were even memes on internet that was going everywhere. This information is available on YouTube, is available on Facebook, is available within the various media entities. The conduct of the commissioners essentially is what set the permutations to the contested elections, presidential elections. And not just that, Chairman, that conduct, if it necessitated the absence, or if by way of violence, the chairman was removed from the face of the earth, God forbid, then this country would have fallen not only under constitutional crisis, there would have been chaos that would have navigated us outside the constitutional framework into a political process like what we witnessed in the Serena process or many other things. It would have taken long to convince politicians to shake hands, therefore, because we would have fallen outside the constitutional framework. And therefore, the aspect and the question of incompetence, and I combine that with the fact that they failed to set guidelines. At that point, the management of the NTC and the pronouncements of the presidential election, the commissioners were beholden amongst themselves not to introduce chaos within themselves. And these are the guidelines that guide them to make sure that we have a level of tranquility that establishes a proper framework and guidelines to the announcement of this election. But I have demonstrated in my petition the contestations, the lack of centrality, the lack of them adhering to the guidelines and constitutionalism, then set us on a pace that was not good for this country, Honorable Chair. And that essentially also answers the fact that whether they acted in concert. I'd like to answer the question on the separation on the right of expression vis-a-vis conduct of a state officer. And I think essentially it's absolutely important for me to refer to Article 33.3, as Honorable Soro has alluded, which says that expression shall respect the rights of others, such as contenders in a presidential election. The right to express themselves offended the majority of the voters. And not just that, it also offended the contenders of the elections, essentially. I cannot declare that I suddenly want to walk in CBD spitting and naked because I feel like expressing myself at the end of the day. My rights go as far as the rights of the other person go. I cannot dictate or conduct myself in an uncivilized manner just because I feel like expressing myself. And our Constitution clearly defines the conduct of a state officer. Article 10 of the Constitution indeed specifies the mannerisms at which government ought to conduct itself. And government is not amorphous. Honorable Chair, we can say you're a government officer. You must conduct yourself in a way that respects our constitution and in a way that respects the rights of others. So, Honorable Chair, I believe that I may have adequately answered.
I may not be a government officer, but I'm a state officer.
State officer, correct.
That you must admit.
State officer, yes.
All right, let's take another round from Kagushia, then we go to the Honorable Jane Maina, then we go to the Honorable John Makari. Very good.
Thank you very much, Chair. I will be very brief. Reverend Dumbi, in your response to one of the questions that Honorable Soro has asked, you have stated something which is a little bit shocking, that you were there and you witnessed even when they tried to eliminate the chairman. Are you saying that the 4 commissioners attempted to eliminate the chair, or in any way were connected to a scheme to eliminate the chair? And how did that happen? You also state in your charges here, you have gross misconduct, number 2B, by acting in liaison with one faction of presidential elections, the commissioners committed gross violation of the Constitution and the law contrary to articles, and you have stated all of them. You fall short of mentioning which faction is this that the commissioners were acting in liaison with, because unless then you are stating which faction, then it leaves us a bit of some of us lost. So you need to clarify on that. And of course, lastly, I don't know whether in your presentation, in any way you find that the way the 4 commissioners were hired or were brought into commission had anything to do with their actions during and after the election period. And I don't know whether there is any connection from where you stand, maybe with the party bigwigs also appearing in the committee sitting this morning as the investigation is done on the 4 commissioners. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Oh, my apologies, Chair.
There is Honorable Jane Maina Kirinyaga. Let's hear from her.
Thank you, Chair. You're my neighbor. I come from Kirinyaga County.
Absolutely. My mother comes from there.
That was a well-detailed presentation. I'll
Thank
just
you.
ask 2 questions. You've said that the Constitution of Kenya 2010, the Public Officers Ethics Act, promotes responsibility and impartiality. In specific scope, how did the conduct of the 4 commissioners at the material time negate that?
Thank you.
My second question, could you tell this committee whether you exhausted all legal channels before filing this instant petition with the clerk?
Honorable John Makali.
Thank you.
Kandoi.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. First is to appreciate the presentation and just seek clarification on 3 issues. At paragraph 51 in the petition has clearly set out the provisions of Section 30 of the Iebc Act that actually impose criminal sanctions on any actions that will actually subvert the Constitution. Now, is he aware or has he made any report to any police station or any other place to pursue criminal penal sanctions as against the alleged 4 commissioners? 2, you have borrowed extensively from the Supreme Court decision, the affidavits that were there. If you look at the quotation which you have taken at paragraph 61, the Supreme Court indicted the commission. It said we cannot subvert the will of the people for what it clearly says, the dysfunctionality of the commission. Correct. Both yourself and myself know the number of the commissioners in the commission. Why have you settled only on the 4 commissioners when it acts as a college? Then finally, if we look at your presentation and specifically at paragraph 67, you make a very, very serious finding which I will want to clarify. You say, which has also been alluded to by my other colleagues, that it's clear that the 4 commissioners acted in concert with one, which means you are implying a conspiracy of sorts. Do you have really any details of any of these conspiratorial meetings that were actually held
to support up that particular clause, or else it be expunged from this petition. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Reverend, you may take those ones, then I will maybe take the last bite at it, and then we can leave it at that.
Thank you very much.
You may respond to those from 3 honorable members.
Thank you very much. The first one is based on the confession that I made. Honorable Kagusha asked whether I have any evidence whether the chair was, whether the four wanted to eliminate the chair. I was there in person, and on the 15th. And I can tell you, when the chaos broke out, several things happened. The first thing that happened was a push towards the office of the chair. And when that failed, I'm talking about a push specifically by the presidential returning officer of Azimio. When that failed, he came back to the plenary and initiated violence and called for enforcement back to the chair's office. And again, when that happened, and the chair came out now to announce, the presidential returning officer stood right in front of the chairman. And when the security team tried to push him on the side, and the chairman sat down, and the reinforcement from Azimio came through, the assault was targeted to the chairman. I'm saying this because I'm under oath.
Sorry, you mean the presidential returning officer or the presidential agent?
The presidential agent. The presidential agent of Azimio. I believe his name is Kachori. I was there with him for many nights. The assault was targeting the chairman.
Chair, just clarity, and I think he's a very interesting, he's giving a very interesting analogy. Of
Yes,
this.
Honorable Soro, yes.
Very, very
What is it you want to be clarified?
No, he says that the presidential agent for Azimio called for reinforcement. And I need a bit of clarity. Reinforcement.
From where?
Does it mean from police officers, goons? Who are these people? I mean, how do you call for reinforcement? I mean, really, we need to understand this thing because it's now very more confusing, actually.
Reinforcement from, thank you. That's, I think clarity is key. I'll offer clarity going forward. Reinforcement from members of Azimio who are present. Chair, I believe that I don't have to mention them in person if you require me. I would mention a few of them, but I believe it's not necessary.
To that extent, I think we get what reinforcement was.
And that's the reason why the tribunal will offer this information. The assault was directly, I believe, in my clear professional analysis, to incapacitate the chairman, to take the announcements that are certificate, and to make it impossible for the chairman to announce the elections. Now, chairman, you know that there's a conversation that is going on that this is to prevent the vice chair from taking over the commission. The vice chair does not qualify to be the chairman of the commission. The chairman of the commission must be the level of a Supreme Court judge. And therefore, when you take away the presidential returning officer, then you make the commission or the announcement impotent. And there's no presidential elections that would have been announced. So if the chairman was incapacitated, at no point would he have verbalized the elections. Then what I had one of my brothers from the legal field say is the constitutional crisis. That is a real constitutional crisis that we would have got into. And of course, even when you look at the way the law medicates it thereabout, we would have been in several problems here. However, I witnessed this myself, and the assault was to make sure that the chairman is capacitated, that he does not get to announce. They destroyed the speakers, the microphones, and the chairs. However, a reinforcement from the police, I believe GSU that were patrolling the periphery, who had come to take lunch at a restaurant that was close to the plenary, offered a reprieve and would have been in intense problems if that reinforcement never happened. And I believe that this answers your question adequately.
Chair, yes, the attempt to answer that question is quite good. But again, what is the connection between that whole scenario, as you have put it, with the 4 commissioners?
They set the permutations
what
in
do the
place.
4 commissioners have to do with this?
At that particular point, and I have read the affidavit by the chair, the commissioners had already verbally objected to these results. And I remember one night, I don't remember whether it was Thursday or Friday, and I was there. The vice chairman read the results of several constituents. At the end of the day, she was there majority of the time. And so it has already been contested. And I believe that there was another presser that was held right outside the door of the plenary, I believe by some members of Azimio. Again, indicating that Bomas is now a crime scene. It is true that the conduct of the commissioners set permutations in place for Bomas to be a crime scene. And therefore, this committee and this House, Assembly, it will be important that the tribunal would advise the proper administration of the NTC, because I don't believe that is in place. The necessity of the NTC is critical, that a certain administrative legal policy framework must be designed on how the safety, the announcement, and many other things, including documentations, are carried in place. I remember one night when I was there, the members of EDA faced many things. I couldn't even go home. I called my wife and I said, today you have to face the cold alone, because I risk abduction. That was present. The police officers there told me, don't go home. You risk abduction. But who was abducting us for what reason? Why? These are details that Kenyans will be able to learn from the tribunal. And also, I believe that the implicated will be able to defend themselves. I mean, the aspect of fair hearing will be able, because the tribunal itself, as I said before, is a quasi-judicial formation. It is not run by any politician whatsoever. It's a professional outfit. Chair, you know that tribunal have helped us develop the legal framework and administrative reforms in this country. If it wasn't for the Ndongo Land Reforms Commission, today we wouldn't be having the Environment and Land Court. We wouldn't be having some of the things that we have, So we cannot negate. And Chair, it is imperative that the jailer holds itself true to the Constitution and corrects the anomaly that I had today morning, that there has never been a successful petition. This holds serious grounds, because you don't need 16 grounds to recommend a tribunal. You need one, but all the 16 are solid. Which faction is this?
Thank you.
Azimio, the Azimio faction. The commissioners aligned themselves politically to Azimio. And not just politically. They wanted the results announced towards the favor of Raila Odinga. And I'm specific about that. There's no time to beat around the bush. Hiring. I believe that the hiring of the commissioners, and I believe there's a legal precedence, there's a court case. I believe also there's a high court case before this assembly on the hiring process. It's very important to study that precedence on what that judgment said and whether the hiring process is fraud. Because why would you hire an officer or a commissioner that offers an end to succession? if anything happens to the chair, I mean, there's a problem even with the hiring process. And I believe that the former presidential candidate of Azimio has pushed for the ouster of chairman of the commission for a while. There is no offense in removing these ones. They are not special in any way. Anyone who offends the Constitution, this House cannot negate the fact that you behold it to our fellow constituents to administrate. That is right. The impartiality, I think I have defined it, exhausted the framework of law. Whether we have, Article 234 provides the roles of PSC excluding state officers. And I think constitutionally, 251, 260, and I have read that in the petition, that this framework and jurisdiction squarely sits with you. And I have a lot of faith with this committee. Criminal sanctions, again, the tribunal will be able to define that. Because at that point, I'm just laying grounds for you to investigate. I believe that the tribunal will be able to be inclusive, get the members of ENSA called, get everybody who was involved, let them come and tell their story, and let Kenyans hear, So if there are any criminal charges that will be preferred, of course, based on the law, the tribunal will be able, and yourself, I believe that you have the jurisdiction to prefer such. So I leave that to you and the tribunal. But however, I need to say this. On Friday, on the Friday just before the announcements, I believe the announcements were Monday. Friday, 2 young men from UDA were kidnapped outside of the plenary. And this is absolutely serious. And they were blindfolded and they found themselves in a police station inside Bomas. And the person who was perusing what they were carrying is a member of this house. Is a member of this honorable house. What she was doing in a police station as who, we don't know. But these 2 young men, they are available. I believe they will be part of they will come and give their story.
You know
So
that
essentially,
is that within your knowledge, or
it's within my knowledge because I was there. I was there. So what I'm saying is that there is a lot of criminal capability, not just for the 4 commissioners. We are talking about a horde of people who had captured this nation for their own expediency. And as long as that conduct is retained, Honorable Chair, this nation shall not be ultimately free. It pains me that people think this is for political expediency. Since when? Since when did we want to shield purported criminals? I mean, if somebody can be bought, Honorable Chair, if the president currently is corrupt, then it means that if he knows they have a price, he can as well buy them. Why do you need to remove them? Why do you need to straighten a commission? But we owe it to ourselves in this country to ensure that Iebc is independent. And I know, Honorable Chair, that this committee will do that favor to us as Kenyans. The 4 commissioners, I believe you asked that question, sorry. If I remember it well, is a question on quorum and the judgment that the Iebc said on the same, which of course offends many articles of the Constitution. The Iebc is not a body that can vote. On quorum basis, they cannot decide the fate of the country. They cannot, and I believe the basis at which that quorum was established in that way is to be a safety net to some of these boardroom dealings. Because God forbid that the sovereignty of this nation is at the purview or the fingers of 7 people. The constituent power of Kenyans must always be respected at the end of the day. and it ends at the polling station. What Kenyans decide at the polling station, there is no institution in this country that can offend or negate that. And I believe I've answered questions on why they acted in concert and how. There is a demonstrable chronology of what they did from the 15th going all the way that showed that they were in favor of Azimio.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think that you've gainsaid. All right, let me ask you the last two questions. The answers is going to be as brief as the questions.
Thank you.
You say you witnessed the entry of NSAC, the NSAC. Can you confirm, particularly whether you were there to witness? Number two, at what time did they come in, and what was the date? Then number three, who are these members whom you say belong to NSAC, the NSAC? And did you particularly see those members physically to say this is so and so, and this is so and so?
Thank you very much, Chairman. There was a particular order that was issued at the gate to a particular GSU officer who was supposed to ensure that members of UDA don't come as many as possible. I'm saying this because these are facts, and I was there. But I saw the entry of NSAC, and the members are as mentioned, those ones who came by Chebukati's affidavit. I told one of the colleagues that we were with that I have seen these people entering, and the results, I believe they were supposed to be announced at 2. And why am I saying that? Because everyone was seated at 2 p.m. The diplomatic corps, the faith, the fathers of the nation were seated right behind the chairman. We were all seated. But I did an entry at about 12. And as usual, I was doing some rounds on the field. And I saw the entry of NSAC. 2 vehicles that accessed this place. So, it is not hearsay. I told one of my colleagues that I believe that there will be a delay in announcement, because I have seen the entry of these people, and we waited, and there was a delay indeed. And so this is something that I witnessed, and those ones who you're asking me who they are is exactly as what the affidavit of the chairman cites. Yes.
That is sufficient. That is sufficient. For as long as you confirm, you saw and you confirm what the affidavit says is within your knowledge.
If you'd like me to repeat the affidavit, I can.
Because you read it, we may deal with it. We shall have a look at it.
But here it's important for us to know the names.
All right. If the members wish to know the names, please, before you give out the names, and you answer that, how did you know they were members of NSAC? Because that you may have read from the affidavit, but yourself, did you know? Or you just saw some people and you said they're there? So answer that.
Chair, when you spend time around some circles in this country, you'll be able, if you're a medic, you're able to tell the look of a doctor or an ambulance thereabout. And therefore, these are public figures, and we exactly know what it is that they do. Even the entry, the clearance at the gate, identified them as VVIP to a certain nature. The vehicles they were driving in identified them to be of a specific nature. And the affidavit agrees that the meeting with the NSAC delegation, it was a delegation by the NSAC, started with a round of introduction. The delegation was led by Mr. Kennedy Kiara, Principal Administrative Secretary of the Office of the President. The other participants were Kennedy Ogeto, Solicitor General, Mr. Hilary Mutiamba, Inspector General of Police, and Lieutenant General Francis Omondi Ogola, Vice Chairman of the Defense Forces.
Do you personally
Two specific vehicles.
Do you personally know these people?
I personally know them. These are public figures.
Thank you.
Yes. They are common faces in the public.
Just as a matter of
Heavenly realm is a complex legal framework. That's the reason why there's hell. Kenyans. I believe that they have the opportunity to ask for forgiveness if they are found culpable to the millions of Kenyans that their actions would have thrown them off. Who knows when 1,100 Kenyans died from political violence in 2007, when 900 Kenyans, majority of them women, were subjected to rape and other demonic ordinances. To date, there has been no apology offered. By who? We don't know. It would be imperative that because these people are under oath, they promise to behave in a particular way. During the tribunal, they have the opportunity for fair hearing. And I believe through the fair hearing, then there will be the tools of justice or administrative justice or whichever it is that will be able to. But this house is beholden to Kenyans to make sure that it is not the rule of politics. We are not the wild, wild west. It is the rule of law. And they are the rule of law. It means that every man must carry his cross.
So you're saying repentance first,
Yes.
then forgiveness next.
By the way, even mercy, even grace is a tool, is a judicial tool that is offered after you have been found guilty. And so there has to be a judicial process that takes place to gauge you whether your actions warrant hell or whether you should be given mercy or grace or thereabout. But these officers, state officers, must be weighed on a scale. And if they are found wanting, then the various instruments of law should then take effect.
Thank you very, very much, Reverend.
Thank you.
I think that brings it to a close of your petition.
Thank you.
Are you calling any witness at this present moment in time? Or
Not at all.
that is sufficient for now?
It is sufficient.
All right, good enough. If this committee ever requires you to appear before it again, for whatever reason, please make sure you are available and you will come so that you can satisfy the committee on whatever issues they may require you to satisfy them in.
Thank you.
Otherwise, thank you very much for the presentation this afternoon. On Monday and Tuesday, we've set it for the respondents. And it's vitally important that possibly you hear what their defense is. And we confirm we'll afford you an opportunity to cross-examine them.
Thank you.
Right?
I'll be here.
Because then they forwent their right to cross-examine you this morning, and that is not going to be reopened, but you will have a right to cross-examine them if they choose to appear before us and offer some response to whatever you've said.
Thank you.
Otherwise, we notify you it's at 10 o'clock on Monday and Tuesday. Thank you very
Thank you,
much.
Honorable Chair. I was given a book to write before I take it away, and it becomes stolen goods.
That becomes a gift to
It
you.
becomes a gift
But
to me.
it doesn't in any way reflect anything.
Thank you.
Purely it was for
I
you
just
to
wanted
make
it
your
to be on
notes,
record.
and you may keep those notes for your future reference.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chair.
Thank you. Thank you very much. You may usher the petitioner, and we again thank him for coming, and we thank him for the presentation. Very good. Ladies and gentlemen, honorable members of the committee, these proceedings will continue tomorrow at 10 o'clock. For the committee members, it's 9 o'clock in-house, but the real proceedings open to the public and to the press will be at 10 o'clock. So we will converge here so that we continue hearing these petitioners regarding their own petitions. Thank you very much. Maybe the honorable members, we can go to the room where we were. But let me thank the media also because they've been with us throughout. I think they've observed the rules we laid in the morning of decorum, and it's good for the country to be informed what we are doing, because this is for their own good. We may take it whichever way, but this is for the good of the country, and this is the reason why we are giving it maximum attention within the times that was stipulated by the Speaker of the National Assembly. There isn't anything we are imposing on anybody. There isn't anything we are doing outside the standing orders of the House. This is all within the standing orders, within our own laws, and within the Constitution of Kenya. Thank you very much. All right. Okay, thank you. The press may leave. The in-house is going to be here because I'm told the boardroom is being used by another team. I think another committee is meeting there.